September 30th is National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. CHCH is privileged to serve on the traditional lands of the Attiwonderonk, the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas, who have lived, cared for, and made treaties over these lands for centuries. Our operations are conducted within treaty territories, including the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Covenant between the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe and the 1701 Nanfan Treaty. We recognize the historic wrongs of colonization and the ongoing struggles Indigenous peoples face today. We are mindful of the Dish with One Spoon's teaching of respect and shared responsibility, and we commit to listening, amplifying Indigenous voices, and supporting the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's calls to action, including Call to Action 86 for media and journalism. Tessa Bennett joins us in studio with more on how Canadians are reflecting on the country's dark history with residential schools today. Tessa?
Manisa, the residential school era ran from 1857 to 1996 and saw more than 100,000 Indigenous children separated from their families, forced to attend church-run, government-funded schools. An estimated 6,000 children died while attending these schools, and the impacts of this dark piece of Canadian history continue to be felt today. On this National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, Canadians are wearing orange and reflecting on the country's history to consider their role in reconciliation. September 30th is intended to honor residential school survivors, the children who never returned to their families, and to consider ways to reconcile Canada's darker history. It was officially established 4 years ago in 2021 as a response to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's call to Action 80, which asked the Government of Canada to establish a specific day of honor.
Today we wear our orange shirts to honor Phyllis Webstad, whose orange shirt was taken from her on her first day at residential school. Her story reminds us that every child matters and that the loss of culture, freedom, and dignity was and continues to be felt deeply across generations.
Residential schools, which were not fully eradicated until the late 1990s, were part of a colonial assimilationist policy that saw the removal of children from their homes and communities. These schools barred any traditions, teachings, or languages that were associated with Indigenous groups.
For me, reconciliation is represented by the Guswenta. It's the two-row wampum. Even though I'm not a Haudenosaunee, it becomes a symbol of what I believe reconciliation should look like. And if you know the teaching of the Guswenta, you know it's the two canoes going down the river of life side by side, peacefully, never interfering with each other.
A Leger poll conducted last year about the Day of Remembrance and Reconciliation found nearly half of Canadians still think the government needs to do more to reconcile Canada's history of mistreatment of Indigenous peoples. And about half of First Nations, Inuk, and Métis Canadians believe there has been moderate progress in reconciling since the Truth and Reconciliation Report was completed.
As much as it's important on the day to recognize survivors and the people that never came home, what we see is people observe Orange Shirt Day and never think of our communities other than that. And all they ever see is the trauma, that we become defined by the trauma in our communities, whereas we would love people to connect with us 365 days a year.
Across the country, communities are participating in different traditions and events to mark National Day for Truth and Reconciliation this year. Here in Ontario, the community of Brantford reopened Canada's largest residential school as a museum. The Mohawk Institute Residential School, also referred to as the Mush Hole, was opened from 1828 to 1970, making it the oldest and longest-running residential school in the country. The museum is being used as a way to educate visitors and honor the children who were and continue to be impacted by the residential school system.
We can't do reconciliation without non-Indigenous people. And so for me, reaching out in friendship and invitation and creating those opportunities for us to interact with each other and learn from each other, I think that's the path forward.
Mary Simon, Canada's first Indigenous Governor-General, released a statement today saying there is still much work to do. Simon encourages Canadians to renew their commitment to reconciliation and to seek out the tools and knowledge needed to do so.